the Podfix Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 256 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up. In our very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson. I am a screenwriter. I co-wrote The Dead with Johnny Grant. I am a producer. Produced Serial Killer's Guide to Life, which is out now on Sky Movies, as is Repeat, which I also produced. You can watch that now. And I'm a director. I directed The Dead, Arthur and Merlin, which are both available on various streaming platforms, which I think are on Prime at the moment. And The Stranger in Our Bed, which will be out later in 2022, and Wolves of War, which we have just delivered the second cut of, and we're now moving towards the sound mix stage. Score is being done, the effects are being done, and we should be delivering that sometime early next year. Fingers crossed that might be out around the summer. How exciting. I am also the director and producer of the documentary World of Darkness, which is on Prime. And we're on the final stages of post of our documentary Food for Thought, all about the plant-based living, the environment, and how you can make a difference. So that should be with us in 2022, fingers crossed. And I also produced 3-Day Millionaire, which is just starting its post-production run now. A couple of pickups to do on that early next year as well. It is. I'm saying early next year because technically now we are in 2021, but when you listen to this, we might be in 2022 because it's only a few days away, New Year's Eve. I hope you've had a wonderful Christmas, whatever you have been doing, and I hope you had a lovely time with your families if you could see them. And I hope you settled in and listened to our Christmas special, our quiz special. If you did listen, you know who won the quiz. If you haven't yet, then do. It's fun because we don't just do a quiz, we go deep into what we thought about this year, our favourite films of this year, our favourite podcasts. We do a rundown of the top 10 podcasts of the year as well. And we give some advice for filmmakers. So it is worth listening to. It's not just us messing around, though there is a lot of that. I really enjoyed recording it. Some amazing people who've helped me all year to get the podcast where it is by co-hosting with me. And I really appreciate that. So it was really fun. So if you haven't listened, do go listen to that and the Phil Barantini episode from last week, all about his film Boiling Point, which is out on January the 7th. But today we are talking with Ben Mole and Luke Bailey, the screenwriter of Krays Code of Silence, and Ben Mole is the director, and the film is out now. It's literally just come out. It's on DVD and on so many platforms all around the world right now, and you can watch it. The link will be in the show notes. I was joined by the producer of that movie and fellow host Lucinda Rhodes Thakrar, and we sat down with Ben and Luke and talked all about how Krays Code of Silence came about. We also talked about why do another Krays movie and their collaboration of writing together. We talk about why indie films have no time to create and how you fail by being brave. We also dive into treatments. How do you do them? Screenwriting. Luke goes into depth into his screenwriting process and the importance of concentrating on story rather than effect. Lucinda talks about the labour of love she has for this film and how much she put into it. And we talk about why filmmaking is traumatic. Ben talks about directing techniques. And we talk about rolling the dice. That's this week's episode with Ben Mole and Luke Bailey and Lucinda Rhodes Thakrar talking about their film, Krays Code of Silence. Like I say, link to that is in the show notes. Do go support indie films and do go watch it. This is our last episode of the year. I do hope you've enjoyed our podcast for this 2021. It is only going to get better in 2022. I say that, I have no idea. It might not. It's just what people say. Some of our guests coming up include the fantastic director of Atonement and the brand new movie Cyrano, Joe Wright. Yes, the Pride and Prejudice director, he is joining us, as well as the star of Cyrano, Peter Dinklage. Oh yeah. Plus, Christy Wilson-Cairns. I know we've been saying that. She's the screenwriter of 1917 and Last Night in Soho. We have been trying to get her on for the last, month, myself and Dom Lenoir, but she is going to join us. She said she will. Hopefully we're recording that early next year. Also joining us very soon is Chloe Chudasama and Leroy Kincaid talking about their brilliant indie film, The Last Rite. They'll be joining us soon, as will live events from AFM and from Kino. Both live, recorded live, really fun. They're coming up. As well, I'm hoping special guests, including Ian McKellen. Yep, I said that. Fingers crossed we are going to get Sir Ian on. Hopefully I'm recording that early in January. And Lily James. Fingers crossed for all those people. We are going into our 5th year of this. If you do like this, please tell your friends. That's how we grow. That's why I keep doing this. That's why all the hosts keep doing this, because not only do we love chatting with each other and talking to amazing filmmakers about how they make their films, but because it inspires you lot. And I get so many lovely tweets and messages on Twitter and the social media for that, and on emails as well. So thank you all those who have done that. Really, really do appreciate it, because sometimes you think, why are we doing this? And then you remember why. We're inspiring you. It's inspiring me as well. And I wish I had this when I first started making films. So take from this what you can, what you will. But know we are doing our best to provide some inspiration and some knowledge for you out there. So, like I say, if you do like this, tell your pals, but also go on iTunes and give us a nice review. It'll look really cool if we've got one for 2022. Right? So as soon as January the 1st goes, please go up there if you haven't yet already and write us a really brilliant 5-star review. It'll look great. Honestly, more numbers will come because of that, and we'll grow because of that. And then more PR companies come to us, which means we get bigger and better guests as well as our amazing indie filmmakers. So I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas, wherever you are. If you have struggled this year, and if you're struggling now, my thoughts are with you. I really believe that you can get through this, and you can go and make your film. You can do it. I know at times it feels dark and depressing and tough, and you keep constantly hitting brick walls. But it took me 10 years to make my feature film. And it took me 10 years to break down those barriers. And you can too. You can do it quicker than that. You've got all these resources now. You know so much more than I did. I failed by having to just go for it. You can fail by knowing the knowledge and then realizing that that wasn't the right journey for you. That wasn't the right person for you. You can change quicker. You can do it quicker if you need to, if you want to. But do you know what? The 10 years was right for me because I was ready then to make my feature. So don't lose heart, don't lose hope. Dive into 2022. Believe in yourself, believe in your project, and go make it happen. Go do it. Right, here we are. This is this week's episode with the fantastic Ben Mole and the delightful Luke Bailey, joining myself and Lucinda Rhodes Thakrar to talk all about their film, Krays, Code of Silence. The sound is a little bit patchy in places. Toby's done a brilliant job to try and make it work. Lucinda had to record on her iPad because she wasn't at home at the time. And I think my microphone drops out a couple of times. Hey, technology these days, we're just using what we can. I just blame technology. I blame ourselves. It's our fault. But just bear that in mind. The sound is occasionally up and down, but there's still so much fantastic information that hopefully you won't even notice. Sit back, relax, have loads of vegan mince pies, but not too many. Look after yourself, and we'll see you in 2022. Enjoy. Hey buddy, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Great.
Good. Hey Luke.
How you doing?
Hey Luke.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. It's a long time, Giles.
It is, isn't it? How many times did we meet? We met, did we meet on a film or a job, or did we
I was
just...
trying to work this out earlier. I definitely know we played football a fair few times together. And I was trying to work out which, I was thinking okay, was there a job first? Because I know, or did we meet on a job afterwards? Because I was actually, weirdly enough, worked with this almost exactly this time last year. I was working with Mr. Little. I did a Death in Paradise. Yeah, I did a couple of episodes of Death in Paradise. Yeah.
With Ralph Little.
Yeah, while I was writing the first draft of this, in fact. So it's kind of like a weird cyclical relation.
It is. So look, you mentioned there, Luke, actually you started writing this a year ago today. Were you writing that when you were on set of Death in Paradise?
Not while I was actually on set. That would be, I mean, it's something I should try in future.
It's been known. I mean, I've done it. I was doing a play in I had some musical or whatever, and I was writing plays in the evening, and it was so hard, but it focused my brain. Like, people were going out for drinks. I was like, no, I must finish this play.
Yeah, there's no drinking, no having fun in the Caribbean. Everyone keeps talking to me afterwards saying, I bet it was amazing. I bet you did loads of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I was sat in a hotel room looking at this beautiful vista, watching all the other members of cast sort of, drinking their tequila sunrises or whatever on this lovely veranda or by the beach and stuff. And I was just sat inside kind of watching all of this unfold while I was writing the script.
Writing this depressing drama set in
grey, rainy England.
Indeed.
That's it. Like casting my mind back to smoggy London in the 60s.
I mean, absolutely. Well, how did it come about then? Because, anything around the Krays and that world is kind of a cool world, right? For both you, Ben and Luke. And suddenly, you like you say, you're in the Caribbean and then you're writing about this, in the 60s in London. But the difference in that must have been amazing. But also, where did it, how come this came to you, Ben and Luke? Why this project? Why Code of Silence? Why want to do something else about the Krays? Because I love it. I think it's a fascinating subject, and I think, and many films have been made on it, but yet your story is so much more interesting. It's so fascinating to see this side of it, and I loved it. I think it's a really well made film. I love the transitions, I loved how it was written, I love the performances. I think it's great. But how did it come to you? How did it come about in the first place?
Luke, can you remember, was I first or were you first on it? I can't remember back that far. I think you, Lucinda, you'll know because you hired us. Who was the first one? Well, actually, I say with my fingers crossed. Lucinda, do you know?
I do. Yes, I hired you. Well, I had brilliant. Well done, Ben. So I had some, financiers call me to say they wanted to make a movie about the Kray twins, and I kind of went, no, I don't fancy it. I love the story. I'm really fascinated. I know a lot about it, but no, it's not for me. And I put the phone down. And then I spoke to Jeet, my producing partner, as you know, at Picture Perfect. And we said, well, maybe there is a different angle. And I mentioned it lightly to Ben, I think. And Ben, you had your head in something else. So you went, yeah, let's pick it up later. And then I picked up the phone to Luke and said, Luke, what can we do? So it kind of came about like that. It was a conversation. I always wanted to work with Luke. I've worked with Ben before many times. He's a wonderful director. And I always wanted to work with Luke as well. And Luke's a great writer. So I thought this could be the first movie to do with the three of us, which would be nice. So I called Luke and went, what do you think? Something about the trial, or, Luke knows a lot about it, and also he's from the local area. So Luke came up with a good few ideas, and then we settled, I think, with Ben on this angle of Nipper and the story that hasn't really been told in a movie.
Well, that was quite important, I think, wasn't it, Lucinda? It was like sort of, there's a lot in the sort of pantheon of, or the canon of the Krays. And it sort of felt like it was quite saturated, or is quite saturated. So it was quite, from the offset, we were quite clear on wanting to look at the story from a completely different angle. And also, I don't know if I was talking about this with you, Ben, when we very first sort of started getting in touch with each other, but it was just this idea that there's like a mythology around the Krays now, almost like, you kind of got the Robin Hoods and the King Arthurs and the Celtic mythology of the Mabinogion and stuff like that. And I sort of feel like it's a modern kind of folk story. And I kind of wanted to maybe paint this palette within that, if that makes sense. It's like a part of this growing sort of folklore, if that makes sense. We wanted to be the sort of first part of the mythology of the Krays, if that makes sense.
You didn't want to glorify them either. I think that was a conversation that we had.
Yeah, because so much has sort of been done as them being the protagonists, hasn't it? And who's the MP who was talking about it recently? Nick Fletcher. And I thought that was quite funny when he mentioned sort of the Krays being, not being sort of people's only role models left. And
wasn't that weird?
Like, we've sort of done we've helped you out there, Nick. We've not made the Krays the role models. They're not the anti-heroes or the protagonists of our tale. They're most definitely the monsters.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll talk a bit about that in a minute, because one of the big things we'll talk about it later, but one of the things we wanted to do was, there was a wonderful actor on the show called Max Rottersley, and we were shooting this scene in the rain, in the mud. They're beating up this character that happens at the beginning of the film to set up how grim this world is. And he turned to me between a take. He said, "You know what, Ben? It was a really dirty business, wasn't it? On both sides of the ball, on the gangster side and on the cop side. And they were playing a dirty game. And it was really one of the things we always wanted to do was show how that it was a violent, horrible, dirty game that this was based upon, that has now become this mythology." Yeah. With that mythology as well, because once you start to get a myth going, you can start to play within it. So you don't have to do a sort of documentary style list of events that happened around a certain date. You can start to get more playful within a sort of almost Alice in Wonderland myth, Robin Hood, all the myth stuff. And it was really great, really cinematic as well, to be able to do that, rather than just knock out events like you'd get in a sort of, documentary list or a book about what the Krays did.
Yeah, and I think that's where you've hit the bullseye here. I think you could easily have just done another Krays film. You could have done another British gangster film set in the 60s, lots of geezers going around killing people. And I think what's so clever about this is the fact that it is a drama. It's an actor's piece. It is this... chamber piece of people in a melting pot, and can they save the day? And it's really cleverly done and written. And I think, certainly for, you look at indie filmmakers now and how difficult it is to sort of break through and do something a bit different. And the fact that you've done this on a budget and it's coming and it looks stunning as well. The location was outrageously good. I've heard stories that it was tough in there, but the fact is it looks amazing. And that to me is, at the end of the day, that's what matters. It really is. And I think you've hit the jackpot here. I think you've hit the nail on the head by doing something that was different. It's a Krays movie, but it's not a Krays movie. It's a nipper story about a detective at the time, or a police officer at the time, trying to arrest some wrong-uns, and that's really cool.
The other thing there, Giles, that was, you mentioned the acting, the script, Luke's script, to go into that other sort of magical real place and to play a drama within the mythology of the Krays meant that we could punch above our weight in hiring the most amazing actors who wanted to come and play with us. Really good. The number of times, and Luke would never say this on a podcast, but I'm going to say it for him. The number of times while we were filming that A-list actors, of which Stephen Moyer is, and other absolutely top of their game actors would come up to me and say, I just love Luke's script. That's why I'm here. I'm really loving playing this. I'd have never done a, slap them in the face Krays gangster movie, but I'm absolutely loving doing this, and it's all down to Luke's script.
Can I interject?
Stephen Moyer said to me once, I love that boy. I love that boy's mind.
Can I interject slightly, Ben? Because I think it's only fair to say how much of a collaboration this script was as well. So there were moments when I was sort of watching it and I was kind of like, oh, that bit really worked. And we'd had discussions about it, and bits that we weren't sure were going to work sort of in the writing it, but then when it comes out into the film, me and Ben were going back and forth quite a lot, and we were changing stuff and editing stuff, and we were both throwing in ideas at different points, and Ben would give me an idea and I would run with it, and then I would say something, write something, and Ben would come back and go, yeah, and then this and that. And, it was very much and what if, and what if, and what if. So you can't just throw all of the praise on me like that, Ben, because genuinely you deserve at least 75, 80, 90% of that, my man.
Oh, look at you two.
I know, isn't this nice? Yeah, I love that. It just went, no, you at least deserve 7%.
8%. Sorry, not 80, that was 8.
Yeah. So, guys, you're obviously writers in your own right. Ben's a writer-director, Luke, writer-actor, musician extraordinaire. So how did you find collaborating?
Go on, beatbox again.
How did you find working, on a collaboration with another writer? I thought you two would, when I put you together, I thought it would work because I both know you very well, and I just wondered how, because we didn't talk about that at all. I hope I didn't just stick you two together and it, didn't work.
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding, in one respect. Like personally, I enjoyed that. As what I was just talking about just then, the kind of throwing the ball to Ben juggling with it for a few moments, throwing it back. We had some really lovely phone conversations where we'd be on the phone for a few hours, and what about this? Oh yeah, brilliant. And then that, yeah, that's great. Would that work if, and just constantly sort of, I really, really enjoyed that. I suppose the only downside of that would be sort of the time we had to turn it around. That has to be sort of acknowledged. I think, we were really, up against it a lot of the time, and because of COVID and because of sort of all the stresses around that. And so I sort of feel like, I think that brought that sort of pressure as well, maybe created some sort of creative diamonds, things where we basically had to go, well, we've not got, either the budget, the time, the location or whatever, whatever it might be. And we need to come up with a solution for this. And I sort of feel like in that pressure at the time, it was very stressful, but I think in the sort of the overall piece, and when you look at it back, you kind of go, okay, no, that actually really worked. And I think it sort of helped. And I think that's where creativity in these scenarios actually comes to the fore.
I think there's a good thing for your listeners as well, who often are, in indie film, maybe coming up to make their first films or their sophomore films or their third or fourth films in the indie world. And that is, we always talk about indie films budgets somehow being the schedule being tight, or the costumes, or the number of cast, or the days, or the VFX often is a big, all these sort of things come up. And Luke's absolutely right. Development is one of those things. And that often gets forgotten, that also gets compressed on an indie film budget, because, you don't have the time to get people for 6 months not doing anything else. As Luke said, he was in another TV show in the Caribbean. Yeah. That's one of the really, that's why every indie film that gets out there, that gets made and is good, is a real achievement, because it was created in this pressure environment, as well as everything else in the filming and editing. I think, what's the message there? Spend more, get as much time as you can in development as well.
Yeah.
Yes. That's really,
if you can, for more time.
Yeah. Basically, Lucinda, can we have more time is what we're saying constantly. I think you're absolutely right. I think when we're in that pressure cooker, though, you can't help but go, oh my God, I've got no choice now. This is it. We are making it. We want to make films. Someone's given us this opportunity, and hey, we have 2 weeks, we have a month, we have 2 months, whatever it may be. You go, I have to finish it in this time. Therefore, that pressure cooker, suddenly the creative juices in us flow. We stop doing everything else. We might stop playing football for a bit. We'll stop whatever all those other things we love to do, procrastinating, watching Netflix, and just go, do you know what? I'm going to fully concentrate. And I think that's when I'm most alive. I love diving in and going, right, I've got to spend 2-3 weeks on this project now, because I'm filming in 4. So if I don't, the actors can't get the script in time. It's true. And suddenly you just put everything into it and you're alive. You're going, everything about the script. And I imagine that helps you, Ben, as well, just before you're about to shoot, because now you know everything about the script. You've gone through it in fine detail.
Absolutely. And then you get a wonderful cast like we had, which was just great. And the performances, I think, are one of the strongest elements of the performances, and the script are really the strongest elements here. But then you get a cast, who are used to doing some bigger Hollywood movies and all the rest of it, and they want to do 6 or 7 takes, and they want to talk longer about it, and they want to take time, and they would, and suddenly. And that's a challenge, I think, on this film and on all indie films, I think, is having the time to try things on set and explore. If we explored something and it didn't work, well, that was what we had to use, because the next day we were on to the next bit. Do you know what I mean? And so on that note, though, we all said at the beginning, we'd rather fail being brave and trying new things and going out there than just sort of knock something out in a paint by numbers way. So I think the audience would have to be the judge of whether we did or not. But
well, I'm one of those audiences, and I think you have achieved that massively. So I give it what shall we say, 7%?
Whilst we're on cast, can we just talk about cast a little bit? Obviously, you've mentioned how wonderful they were, and Ben, I think Stephen Moyer was the first cast in the movie.
Was this before, sorry Lucinda, was this before the script was finished, or was this a case of you could get Stephen on the premise, or was it a case of, no, let me read the script first?
Stephen will always read the script first, yeah.
Stephen had a lot of notes as well. The draft that we shot had a lot of S. Moyer in it.
Wow, okay, great.
It's good.
So there was an element of being Stephen's a director and a producer, a very good one in both those things of his own right, you know. And and obviously done a lot of this business. And so he had thoughts. And Luke, did we get on with him, or was I feeding back from him to you? I can't remember what.
We had one.
We had one, didn't we?
One, yeah, where there was all
you meant
three
get
of
on
us.
Zoom with him rather than did we get on with him? Just clarify.
I wouldn't
on a
speak
podcast.
to him at all, and everything had to go through Ben.
Yeah.
Because we just really didn't get on. No. We had one discussion with all three of us, and that was actually after the first cast read through.
Oh yeah,
so
you
everything
guys
before
stayed
that
on.
had been, Ben, you were like a go-between. You were sort of Casio to Stephen's Iago.
Nice quote there. Yeah, so look, with Stephen Moyer there, also in the cast, Alec Newman, Andrew Tin and Michael Higgs, Jamie Kenner, Max Rottersley, as we mentioned, Jennifer Martin, Ian Sharp, Sam Newman, Melissa Batchelor. You know, a lot of these people we've worked with. Melissa's in 3 Day Millionaire, Ian's in
there he goes,
Arthur and Merlin.
plugging his own film.
They're yours as well. Jennifer Martin's in Wolves of War. You know what I mean? Ronan Summers in Arthur and Merlin. And really interesting with Ronan as well, he's playing both Ronnie and Reggie Kray. I think we'll come back to that in a minute because the technicalities of that and how you did it are fascinating. But your cast is brilliant cast. And it's really interesting you said how it was because they really liked the script. They really wanted to get their teeth in. And I think that's a lesson as well for any screenwriters or producer directors out there, is that if the script is brilliant and solid, actors want to do it because it might be something different for them and they get their teeth in. It's not your regular film, as you've said, and that's really important. You know, the better script you can have, and I know it's like saying close your curtains at a night, but it's really important that it's really not, but
not like that at all.
It's really not. But in terms of getting your script to a solid state and not sending it out before it's not ready, and the fact that you guys didn't have any time, but yet you still delivered this amazing script. Let's just talk about the script then for a little bit more. So you're a year before you actually, today I think, a year ago, and you're there in the Caribbean and you're writing it. But at that point, how are you writing it? It's not like you're just there writing it. Sorry, you came back to the UK and carried on as well. But what's your process when you now got the gig? Lucinda said, here's the gig type thing. What do you do?
First things first is we wanted to get as good a treatment as possible. And we were really detailed with that on this piece. And I think for this piece in particular, where so much of it is character, but there is a lot of plot in there, and there's also quite a lot of detail within sort of the case. I don't want to say too much, if that makes sense, you know, about sort of the intricacies of it, but there are some complexities towards the end. So we kind of wanted to have as detailed a treatment for that side of things as possible. So there was a lot of work on that. I think we went probably as many, if more drafts on the treatment than on the actual script itself, I think. And then obviously we did quite a detailed scene by scene breakdown as well beforehand. I think just also because I was going out to the Caribbean, it meant that I had as much detail as possible going out there, that I wasn't, you know, getting, because there were two things going on out there, and I didn't want to do a job badly on either side, if that makes sense, because obviously I was being paid to work as an actor out there, and I didn't want to be kind of go, right, I'm going to go on set and do a terrible job because I'm putting all of my focus on this script that I'm doing in the evenings and the other days.
I love that. And does that mean that when you came to write it, actually put it down, because you've done so much work in the treatment stage and in the scene by scene breakdowns, it was easier then to sort of put things down and get your script solid?
You would have thought that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was not that easy, Luke.
I was hoping you'd say yes, but no.
I was hoping I'd be able to, looking back. No, the first draft was still really difficult, and I don't know if that was because of sort of the other work, or I don't know if there was just sort of a little bit of kind of pressure. But I got to the stage where I was just like, get anything on the page, just get anything on the page, and then we can work it and work it and work it. And the first draft was a dog's dinner, but as is the case, always once you've kind of got something on the page, then you have something to work with. And so you've got a bit of clay to mold there. And they gradually improved draft by draft.
It's fascinating and very honest with you. And I totally agree with you. I think it's so important to just get that first draft done. It's like your first edit, that assembly edit. It's going to be terrible. You're going to look at it and go, this is crap. They call it a vomit draft or a vomit edit. Yeah. And it usually is, but that's okay. You've now in a place where you can now go make it better. But if you haven't even done that, if you haven't put your vomit draft down, you're never in a place to go make it better, because you're always procrastinating, saying one day I'll write a script. And the fact that you just went, sod it, I will do this. I suppose at this point you have been commissioned though, so it's slightly different than just pressure. on a whim. Yeah, there's a bit more pressure. How did you feel about that then? How did you feel about that pressure? Because technically it's your first feature film as well, right? As a screenwriter.
Just on the other side of that though, before you answer that, Luke, it was because of that, from my side of receiving Luke's drafts, I didn't think it was a dog's dinner at all. And I think because we had worked so hard on getting the structure and the scene by scene down, something Luke's great at is, and you'll see it in the thing, is dialogue. When if you watch the film, his dialogue is really, really great. And whether it's his acting background or his musician, rhythms in music, whatever that might be. So it was I used to really look forward to getting Luke's drafts because the sort of structure was basically there. It was just how was that going to be sizzly and sort of work with fireworks between the characters, because the story was basically down. I think you did it much better than you remember.
There you go.
Thank you, Ben.
No, I thought it was great.
7%.
And it still is. So I'll give it 8 now.
Up to 10 now.
8% now.
8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now I can't remember what your question, but what did you ask me before?
Well, in terms of the fear and that factor of the fact the first time writing, first time commissioned, the pressure, talk us through that and how you coped, because it's something we often overlook. And actually it's a really important, vital part, especially with mental health these days in terms of filmmaking and being alone and going, oh my God, how am I going to do this? How did you cope?
Do you know, I don't think I coped brilliantly, but I think because I didn't have much time, I think it would have been slightly different if I wasn't out shooting something as well, because I think I'd have had a lot more time just to kind of get inside my own head and sort of, plant those seeds of doubt. But because I've got 2 hours today because of the amount of time I'm on set, I have to write. And then sort of the next day, it's like, right, I've got 2 days off now. So I need to get as much done as I possibly can because, the deadline for the script to be in the first draft was at the end of the month. And I was out there for the whole month sort of shooting. So I don't think I had an opportunity or any time to really allow myself to be that negative. It was just like everything was go, 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 go. Come on, man, climb over.
Come on. Shooting guns. I'm sure I thought you were singing them for a minute.
I was beatboxing.
I mean, you were very good. You didn't share any fears or non-coping thoughts at all to myself, but I suppose, you were just ploughing on, getting on with it.
Yeah, and we were on slightly different time zones as well.
Yeah, but don't you think we do that as creatives? And maybe we shouldn't, but maybe to our bosses, in inverted commas, we do. We daren't share too much, but I definitely think we need that outlet, whether it's a friend or someone else, that we can actually say, do you know what, I'm struggling here. Yeah. And the more we can do that, the better. Because someone like, say, Ben straight away went, no, your first draft's great, mate. It's fine. And I imagine you shared with Ben a lot of this as well, but maybe you didn't. And maybe we should do this more as filmmakers, is just go, do you know what? I'm actually struggling here. I don't know. We have there's this whole fear factor of someone will then go, oh, well, you're not good enough. You're not going to make it in this industry. Yeah. But actually, we all feel it. We're all there. The whole imposter syndrome constantly is on our back. We never think we're good enough. We never think we're able to do this. And every time we write a new script or go onto set to direct something, we always go, oh my God. We just do.
They're going to find us out.
They're going to find us out. Yeah. So you said
they're going to find us out. We've been blagging all these years.
Exactly. And I'm only 7%, and I really don't want to. I'm going to keep using that now. So your process of actually putting things down on paper, like say you're an actor and a very good actor. So are you looking to sort of the bits of dialogue that you've always used and the natural rhythms? Is that something you go, look, because that was something that stood out massively in the film as well, was how great the dialogue was and how bouncy and just real and natural, especially because there's so many dialects from different areas, with the Scottish, the London thing and the Northern. And I thought that was really interesting. How do you sort of go, what's my dialogue and what's my day-to-day process of actually filling in the blanks?
Yeah, that comes sort of in later drafts for me. I sort of, in terms of rhythms and things along those lines. I mean, I'm always kind of picking stuff up. I think Ben mentioned about sort of being an actor, and I think I'm always listening to people. I'm a bit of a parrot in a way, and I sort of soak that kind of stuff up. And then when it comes to actually writing, so when I'm really kind of trying to get, I'm not sure what it is, to even try and make some life into a character, or whatever, I think I play them all. I think I'll, so I think I just kind of go, right, I'm gonna do a draft. And in this draft, I am Nipper, and we will go. I say we, but me and me being Nipper.
Me and me.
Through, we'll just go through
me and my alter ego, me.
That's it. Me, myself,
That's
and
really interesting, Luke.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it from all the other, and I do, and I kind of sort of improvise sort of around sort of scenes, and it's almost as though I'm kind of having a little dialogue myself with the characters.
What's really great is it really works as well, because it translates into, as you say, into the dialogue, and there's a couple of monologues in the movie. There was one particular one, Stephen's talking about Nipper and his childhood, and he's using his sort of stories about himself to try and wheedle some evidence out of a witness. And it's this brilliant monologue, and I come up obviously with his fancy way of shooting it, and he was going to go over here and then over there, cut to a close-up and all the rest of it. And then Stephen said, look, this monologue is great. Just put a camera and I'll shoot and I'll say it.
Don't ruin my monologue, basically.
No, it's just... And you can't do that unless you've gone through this process Luke's talked about going through each character, giving it life, giving it authenticity and rhythm. I think authenticity was really a big part of this as well, actually.
I was really worried about that particular piece, that part. I was worried that it just wasn't going to work. And I thought, am I being a bit, is this being a bit too sort of, I don't know what the word is, kind of not a bit too self-involved, if that makes sense, and I was a little bit worried, but and then I watched it and I was like, oh my God, no, it says so much about sort of Nipper. And the interesting thing is like, is he telling the truth or is he lying? Because he's trying to get, and that just all of that kind of really works in that moment. And I was so close to kind of not having that in there, if that makes sense. I was thinking, it's a bit too self-indulgent. I'm being a bit too kind of, I was like, let's get rid of that. So I'm really glad you said that, Ben, because I was.
You'll know, Giles, when you see like a massive chunk of monologue on a script, you're immediately it sets off alarm bells, right? Which it did for me too.
Yeah,
I remember that, but because it was nicely written, I didn't know how good until we actually got on set. And sometimes you have to put it into an actor's mouth to really see. Obviously.
You really do, yes.
And then when we got it there, every word of it stayed in the cut, and it's one of my favourite little bits, actually. To be fair, Luke.
Isn't that fascinating how we as directors or writers, we imagine a certain thing when we're writing it or looking at it, and we go, right, I could do this with it, and the camera needs to sweep from here to here because otherwise it'll be boring. But actually, sometimes you can stick a camera on an actor with a really cool bit of dialogue and just let it sit because they can deliver. And they're writing strong enough, and the camera does the work. There it is. And sometimes we can get too bogged down in that stuff. Fascinating. I'll come back to that in a minute because I do want to talk about your transitions and everything that you magically did, Ben. But Luke, I remember I like to write with other people. I much prefer it. Writing on my own, I can get, I don't know. I that's why I asked you the question, because you can get lost and you can get frightened. And it sounds like you and Ben could bounce off each other, which is amazing constantly to have that. And actually, I've written a comedy with Noel Sullivan, who you were in Ordinary Lies with. Yeah, he's great. And me and him bouncing backwards all the time. And it was great. But what you talked about there was acting the characters out. Me and Noel would do it all the time. And it helps that I was an actor and he is an actor, but doing that, and I think it was a great technique for screenwriters to do. And if you can't do that yourself, find an actor to read it through with you. But me and him would do that. We ended up finding the characters that suited us the best, and then feeling the connection with those particular characters, and then going, that line doesn't feel right for me. Like I'm playing these roles. And I love that you did that too. And I think it's important that we do that. We sort of just read it out loud. As soon as you say it out loud, to record it. And Jim Cummings does this. He does a podcast of his own voice reading all the characters. Well, you soon know when you're editing that together if it works or not.
That's true. No, when you said that about it working, if it works or not, and that's the thing is, if I can make it work, I feel like if I can make it work, and if it does, then I know that it can be done. If that makes sense, because there's sometimes you do worry about, like, is this gonna translate? Does this work? Is this going to be possible? And I sort of feel like that's the litmus test. It's like, if I can do it, it can be done. There you go. Yeah, I know that it will work, because there's sometimes you do and it doesn't work, and then you have to edit it, change it, and you keep doing that until you find something that actually makes sense.
Feels natural and nice. Yeah. Lucinda, what were you doing during this time? So you as the producer, you've come to Luke and Ben, you've brought them on board. How is it for you when you're waiting for that first draft, or you're getting that first draft? What are you going through at this time? What's your process? Because by the sounds of it, you weren't far away from filming itself. So therefore, are you already starting to prep and look at locations with Ben?
What was I doing? Hoping it would be good.
At least 7% of it.
I think Luke and I were talking every couple of weeks, because I don't like to keep bothering a writer when he's trying to work and be bothered by the producer.
And we're all three of us here are very grateful for that.
Thank you. But I was having a lot of dialogue with Ben. We were speaking to our execs a lot, because we had to cast whilst the writing process was going on, because we were so close to filming, and we lost our location. We were actually shooting in Suffolk, and then we had to find a different location in Wales, which we did.
How long did you have between the fact that you've got this draft happening, you're trying to cast, you're looking at locations? How long away are you from filming at that point?
A month.
A month. Oh my gosh, that pressure's huge.
We shot for 14 days.
You shot this movie in 14 days?
Yeah. Well, we had a window with Stephen and Alec Newman, so we kind of had to get it done. Stephen had flown over from LA. He had to isolate for 10 days. And thank God he tested negative at 6 a.m.
There'd be nothing worse. Yeah. That's nearly most of our 14 days gone where we can't use you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And him being in every day. So, we had a month, and we could only really cast... I think it was Stephen Moyer first. It was Ian Sharp second. We cast Ronan, because we weren't sure about... We had actually gone out to real twins actors.
Had you? Oh, okay.
But they weren't quite right. And Ronan, we always loved. As Giles and I have worked with Ronan on 3-time BAFTA-nominated Cape Modern back in the day. So
along with Ralph Little. There you go, yes.
So we all know what a wonderful actor he is.
And he was so passionate about the role, and he kept saying, I want it. But the difficulties of not using brothers or actors that look like each other or twins is 14 days, one actor, both roles. You've got to shoot everything twice. So during that month, we were trying to work that out. Ben was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? He's so good. But how are we going to do it? So with that whole month to try and find, lock the new location, try and find teams because things had opened up again with filming, so people were working. It was a heavy going month, wasn't it, Ben, actually?
Yeah. And going up to Soho to, get in the VFX studio and try face replacements, head replacements, trying to put my face onto the VFX guy's face so that we could work out how to switch his face, keep the same performance going, but do this sort of deep faking almost. And then we thought, do we have them both stand there with a stand-in and literally cut Ronan's head off and put it onto the other thing, which we do in several takes, actually.
No way.
So there's a whole kind of figuring out a whole kind of range of different VFX techniques to have one actor playing two people on, a month of pre-prod on an indie budget. Nothing, not with any of the sort of toys that you should have if you were doing a movie for a year.
Yes, exactly. And it comes across so well, because we can't help it as people generally when it's the same actor playing the same role, or two brothers or twins. You can't help but watch. You can't help to go, how did they cut that? Where's the moment? Where's this? And Ronan is so good in this that you just like... I loved watching it and loved watching the tricks that you did, Ben, and working out how you did that. It's just kind of a joy. You go, yeah, they succeeded. That was cool. I mean, obviously at the time it must have been frightening, right? You must have been like, how am I going to really do this? And like I say, you were doing all those tricks, but a month of prep is really tough, especially if you didn't know locations.
As Lucinda said, on set, you literally shoot in every shot twice.
Yeah.
With a half-hour makeup change in between. So how did you make that work? Because he was had prosthetics up his nose and all his hair and different sort of bits of plastic and cotton wool inside his nostrils and in his cheeks to change the shape of his face, which was then digitally enhanced later. So there were lots of sort of little fiddlings with it. And to be fair to Ronan, of course, his performance underpins that. They are really different performances. And that's one of the things that, had that not worked, we'd have been in real trouble, but it did, thank goodness. So anyway, having to wait half an hour for all that stuff to happen, like in between shooting the same shot. It's not even like we've only got half a shot, because if there's two people in it, I wouldn't recommend it.
No, I wouldn't, because Joe String was first AD, who first AD'd for us on Wolves of War. Was written by Ben Mole. Which is written by Ben Mole. Did you... Yay!
9%.
9%. Let's go. Did you have to go? Okay, you and Joe would go. All right. Well, let's shoot Ronan's close-up as Reggie first. Let's spin it round. Come round onto Stephen next. Maybe do a wide. Let's see what else we can do. And then when Ronan's ready, come back and do his close-up. Were you constantly thinking like that for all those shots with him?
Totally. And also, some of them are lock-offs, so you can't move the camera or any lights, because you'll see shadows moving in the back of the set. So that set then becomes dead. So then you've got to go and find something else to shoot on a different set with what have we got left on the lighting truck and the camera truck we can still use while Ronan's in makeup, while all the rest of the lamps and the camera gear and the dolly and the track, you name it, are sort of literally nailed to the floor on the set for the lock off for the effects shot. Joe did a great job of to be fair, everybody mucked in on it. We knew that we had to get it done, and we knew that there was no way around it, and everybody was makeup. Brody did an amazing job. Brody's great anyway.
Fantastic. Brody Mayhew, everyone.
Fantastic. Brody Mayhew, and she did an amazing job, not only creating the two looks for the two brothers, but also turning them around in, by the end of it, she was turning around in sort of 10, 15 minutes instead of the half an hour, which obviously saved us across a day, an hour or two.
Yes, so important. And who's your DOP as well? Is it Phil?
Pete Allibone, who I think did an amazing job too. The stills, I don't know if people are seeing them attached to this, or you can see the film probably.
You can see the film now when this comes out.
December.
Yes, December. Now it's Christmas. Happy Christmas, everyone. We're filming. We're recording this before.
He absolutely hated me and Joe though, because he wanted to. Obviously, we're working to try and get it done in 14 days with one actor playing two parts. So he was always under pressure, and always like, that thing when you're like, well, I'll have to it will have to do now, and that's tiring.
It is tiring.
It's hard. It was brilliant. We were watching it going, oh my God, it looks amazing. But so great job him, really.
Totally great job.
Can I say something about Ronan as well, just to step in whilst we're on the Ronan Kray situation? For anybody that is going to watch the movie, Ronan is actually American. So he has an American accent. We were obviously worried that, and he was worried as well, and I think he's very pleased. I will speak to him later to see if he is happy. But his accent is really, spot on, and that must have been a very hard process for him. He's one of the UK's top voiceover artists, but that's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's not. And fair play to him. On Arthur and Merlin, he was English as well, but here it's the Krays. It's very specific. People know what they sound like. Ben, for you, that must have been, and I think with most of your cast, generally we're always worrying about our cast, but did you think, is this going to be... How am I going to do this? You must have been looking for someone who looked like Ronan as well to potentially make your life a lot easier when filming this as well.
So there is a stand-in who does look a little bit like Ronan. Actually, it's funny. I'm just looking at some old pictures, actually. I've got hundreds of pictures of the back of runners' heads and their ear shapes and things. And loads of them. it's like, I want to work on an indie film as a runner, which is not the best paid job in the world. So you're already kind of like trying to get people. And then you ask them to send photos of their ears and the backs of their heads and the shapes of their shoulders. They're like, why? What?
Yeah, why? What do you want that for, you weirdo?
You're sending complaints to Equity.
Is this and it turns out
yeah, really. Keeps asking for pictures of my ears, man. I don't think I'm going to do this job. It's like Tarantino and his feet fetish. Yeah. You're like, what are your ears like? You're not on my set unless you've got nice back of ears as well. Not even front, not even side.
So trying to find those stand-ins to make that work was yet another thing we had to do on the list of things to do that. And then, of course, obviously, our main job, Luke's and mine and Lucinda's, something, is making an emotional story for Nipper, because he's the Krays. For those who haven't seen this, the Krays are the baddies. And we're following the cops trying to get them. But which is certainly the way we all wanted to come to the story from that point of view, because that felt fresh. But so we had to, Luke in the writing, me in the directing, and everyone on the set had to remember that don't get obsessed with the technicality and what the ears look like. And is Ronan doing the 2 parts? Thank God he handled that brilliantly. Because remember, the story is really Nipper and Alex and Ian Sharp's story. So to not waste, I wouldn't say waste, but not, if you spend too much time getting the effect shot right and not Nipper's performance good, then you've just got an effects show reel and you haven't got a movie. And that was something we always had to remember is allowing time for them to play. And as you know, great actors want several takes. They want to try things different ways. And they should. And that's the best way to get the best rounded character out of them.
I love that, because when we're on set, we can get bogged down in the bits and pieces, the smaller minutiae of, does the back of this head look right? Does that prop look right? Does this? When actually, all those type of things, when you're in the edit, it doesn't really matter. You can, as long as you're telling the story and you're concentrating, like you said there, Ben, absolutely 100% right, on your Nipper character and on the Ian Sharp and Alec Newman characters, because they're the ones that are telling the story. It's through their eyes. So suddenly you're spending too long on these intricate details. Great, you made that look amazing, but we now don't care about your lead characters. And I think that's so important that we don't forget our story and our vision when we're on set, because we can easily do it. Can easily get pulled away by he said, she said, and the bullshit of the stuff that happens on a set. But as the director or the writer or the producer, you've just got to concentrate on what is the story we're telling here. What is the end result? And I love that you said that, Ben.
Also on the twins, it's Ronan, to focus on Ronan and the performance and the character of that twin different to the other twin, rather than just high-fiving each other because the VFX shot worked.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's great. And for you, Luke, then at this point, are you coming to set? Because now, I mean, we never really talked about you finishing the script. We talked about that hard moment when you're going, and you're delivering it. But did you come to set? Did you come and have a look to see what was going on?
Briefly, for several reasons. Number one,
you're a big time actor.
Yeah, that's it. Number one, I'm just way too busy and
to give a shit.
Number one, because of there was the whole COVID situation, obviously. Sure. So you can't just I couldn't just come down willy-nilly and sort of keep poking my head in and all that kind of business. Another one was, again, the time. And I knew that they were under so much pressure to sort of get it done in the time. And I didn't really want to be taking up people's, oh crap, the writer's here. Everyone's got to, say hello to Luke, everyone. And you know what I mean? Like, I sort of felt quite mindful of that. And I don't know if that was actually something I needed to be mindful of, but in the back of my head, I was kind of like, I don't want to be a distraction. And the other thing as well, though, is also because my partner was on the shoot as well. And again, I was like, okay, now this is your turn to sort of be part of it. And I don't, again, want to come in and be like, it's not about you now. It's about, it's about me again and all that kind of, I sort of think about that kind of stuff. I don't want, I don't want to be sort of in the way. I don't want to be sort of pulling focus or anything like that. I was just like, you guys need to go and do your thing. And the other thing as well is, Ben, you said something quite early on. You were saying about, so when it comes to set and I can chat to Luke about this, that, and the other. And I sort of thought, I don't want to, again, I want Ben to do, with a script for me, I always feel like it's like a blueprint. So I've given a blueprint, and then as like a bit of an architect, but then you're going to go and play and do different things with it. And I sort of wanted that to happen. I wanted to be able to come and watch this film like you, Giles, as a fan or as someone who just wants to watch a good movie. And I didn't necessarily want to kind of the being part of the set, and the illusion kind of gets taken away, and you're sitting there sort of thinking, oh, I remember how that happened.
I was there that day.
Exactly. That kind of business. And I sort of wanted to be like that little kid. I've written a film, for crying out loud, and I'm going to get to watch this and see what everyone's done with it. And I did, and I was like welling up in moments. I loved it that much. I think the setup of it, that sort of first 40 minutes where everything kind of sets everything up for what happens at the end. And it needs to be set up. You need to be enjoying the film. You need to be having fun almost for that ending to work, if that makes it. And again, I don't want to be saying too much. I don't want to be giving anything away. I think Ben has done such an amazing job of pulling you into this world and you falling in love with sort of Nipper and the cops, and you definitely, and also not hating the Krays, but they are monsters and they are the baddies, and you want them to get their comeuppance. And I think that world is set up so wonderfully. And I remember watching it, I was just like, I had tears in my eyes watching this, thinking this has been brilliant. And I sort of feel if I'd have been there all the time, I maybe would have sort of lost that little kid at Christmas sort of thing, opening a present.
Yeah, because you'd have seen the things that were going wrong on set, because that's what happens on a movie set. You know, when we watch a movie...
Oh, and there was a lot went wrong.
Let's get into that quickly. Let's talk about...
Lucinda, what actually went right?
Yes, Lucinda. Let's talk about what went right. That might be easier.
No, I can't remember.
7%.
For me, as a producer, and by the way, Luke, I was so nervous for you to watch the movie. Because obviously I very much respect Luke, so I respect his opinions. So I'm very pleased that you were happy with the work that Ben Mole and myself and the team did. But yeah, so what went wrong? Everything went wrong. Everything. Because, well, the location change was very hard on us, because we had to take everybody, and it's some of the regular team we work with, which was wonderful, but we had to take everybody from one place to another for a start, doing the lack of days that we had to shoot. And we had the smallest crew I think we've ever worked with, apart from Behind the Line Escape to Dunkirk, which Ben and I did together back in 2019. It was a there was only 2 of us in the production office.
Wow. Okay.
Or 3 of us, I think David Harvey, Rick Gordon and myself. It was a cold warehouse. We were in Wales. It was really tough. I found it one of the hardest shoots I've ever done.
Really? Is that because it was so cold and miserable in there? Because when you're shooting, it's even that, like I said, I mentioned this earlier, the fact that this warehouse looks incredible, and Luke, you'll totally agree, and I don't even know if you imagined it to look as good as that. It just has the depth of all the windows and the characterness. I love rundown buildings like that with pools of water everywhere. It's just brilliant. It looks great on film, but it's an absolute shitter to film in.
So that was going back to what Luke was saying about the mythology of the whole thing. And we wanted it to feel almost like a sort of massive epic castle, or a sort of a labyrinth. We used that word a lot as we were looking for the locations, because it's sort of a representation of what's in his mind, as well as a good location. So it's got there's lots of shadows and dark bits and corners, and we don't quite know where to go, and passageways that seem to lead off to this way or that way, and doors that are locked or not locked, so it was part of kind of bringing a bit of kind of urban 60s mythology to the Krays, which is great that we were able to follow Luke's initial idea about the mythology, making that a myth building exercise right through into the location and the filming of it, which is brilliant.
Brilliant. That is brilliant. Well, listen, you were talking there about how the difficulties and the location and stuff, and you're just there in the office, and you say, why was it difficult? Why was this one of the toughest shoots? Because I remember when you actually asked me to watch this, you said, I'm really proud of this. I hope you like it. I put a lot of my heart and soul into this and everything.
Yeah, it was definitely a labour of love.
Yeah, tell us why.
I mean, as you know, Giles, picture perfect. We've done a lot of films, and this is definitely, I think for me, I'm the proudest of this movie that we've ever done. And it's really hard to now think back of the stress levels that we were all going through, or my personal journey on this. I was at the end on most days. I really was. And it's hard to kind of remember why, because I'm so pleased with how it's turned out. So you try and forget all of those things because it doesn't matter anymore. you know, what we pulled off on no budget, micro budget, whatever you want to call it, is quite incredible, because it really was, you know, one of the lowest budgets we've ever worked on, which is always, we talk about the budgets like you did earlier, Ben. It's tough, but, you know, you're trying to engage all these wonderful individuals, and, you know, they're worth so much more, and you can't offer them more, and we're trying. And it turned out to be, there's a behind the scenes video actually that somebody did, and they stuck it on Facebook. And I thought, wow, I didn't remember it like that, because I was in this whole dark cloud of my own. And then all of a sudden you realise, wow, everyone had such a different experience to what you thought they were having. And at the end, they all went, so what are we doing next, guys? And I was like, haven't you had enough?
Yeah, you want to do more? Isn't that fascinating how we see things just through our eyes and what we're seeing? And you forget there's a whole nother world going on with everyone who's on set is having their own little world within that world. And you can be having a really tough time, but no one else knows you, especially as a producer. You can't let anyone else know you're having a tough time. Producer's the one person who is actually, it's really difficult because you've got to hold everyone else's problems, and people always come to you with the issues, and you've got to try and deal with them.
Well, nobody asks a producer how they're doing.
Never. And that's a lesson for everyone. If you are not a producer on a film set, do go ask the producer how they're doing. Just go bring them something. Honestly, it makes them feel so special because constantly you're getting shit. It's really tough. So Ben, let's talk about the directing side of making a film like this in 14 days. Is tough. It stretches the brain to think in different ways. Obviously, it helps that a lot is in the same location. And I imagine, I'm putting it out there at the moment, that you shot pretty much all of it in that location and then around there. I certainly hope so, for moving around must have been a nightmare. I like to spend time in locations and have a little, you know, as a director, and go, okay, the more I spend time in locations, I see where I want the camera to move, or I go, well, this could work. And obviously the actors come in and change that, and that's cool as well. You adapt. For you then, did you get much time in there? And how, obviously we talked on a previous podcast about your techniques and stuff, but the transitions you did were incredible. It's basically what I'm trying to get to with this long-winded, stupid-ass question I'm going with here. I loved your transitions on this film, and I wanted to know how you thought about those and how you managed to pull them off, basically.
I mean, thank you for saying that you liked them, because that was a dice roll. It really was a dice roll. And we said, Lucinda and Luke and I and Stephen and Pete, the DOP, and everybody, Jamie in the art department, said at the beginning that we'd rather fail. Let's put these in. We don't have the budget to come and reshoot them if they don't work, but let's put them in and fail trying rather than fail being safe. So we tried to go for be brave with the way those looked and those transitions and cuts between bits. There's a couple that are, you know, that I'd want back, and there are a couple that are great. And that's brilliant.
I hope the execs didn't hear that we just rolled the dice.
I think what Ben's saying is he didn't go, oh, let's just see if this works. You knew that you had the idea of how it would work, but the execution of them, I thought was excellent. I really thought it was excellent.
There was another thing, and I hope it comes through to the audience, is that one of the things I never ever wanted to do with this, and Luke didn't either, was do a diary list of events in the Krays life. It would have been A, impossible to shoot on the money, and B, kind of a boring thing. You can get that from a book. So we wanted to kind of get inside Nipper's head and almost think of it like the whole of the movie is Nipper's plan for how to arrest them. And what that did was allow us to be a bit fast and loose with the actual events, because if it was just his plan and never really happened, then we could be a bit more flexible and work to our budget, time, and creativity. So using those transitions, it's almost like he's sort of thinking of an idea, and then he has another idea, and that moves him to another part of the building, or another transition, or another juxtaposition of shots that might be. It's a sort of outward expression of Nipper's inner piecing together of the puzzle, basically. We haven't really spoken about Nipper, actually. That was one of the things I really loved about Nipper, was you've got this very methodical, reason-driven, shy, internal detective, combined with someone who is quite emotional and gets quite passionate at the end. And that was really who the real Nipper was, this sort of weird double character of those sort of things. I thought, Stephen, that's a nightmare to ask an actor to do. And I thought he did that brilliantly. That the focus of the analytical Nipper with the passion of the driven Nipper, and thought he did a great job with that. But yeah, totally the transitions are kind of an outward expression of his inner piecing together of the puzzle that he needed to do.
We originally didn't have Nipper in those flashbacks. Do you remember, Ben?
Oh, really?
You added them later, or Luke added them, or it came about. So he was telling the story, or he was talking to the other coppers, if I remember. And then there was a decision to actually put him in.
I remember the discussion, because me and Ben had one of these wonderful long chats that we'd been having. And we put the idea in then about, again, and this is really difficult to kind of say without giving away sort of a kind of quite key part of the story, but to do with the transitions and to do with where Nipper actually is or where he isn't. And we had this discussion, and then we took it to Lucinda, and and we were talking about budget and can we do it? Is it possible? And then we would sort of decided that we were going to kind of maybe go down another route before a draft. And then I just went, do you know what?
Roll the dice.
No, Ben's right, and it is good. And let's just try something. And I tried one thing in one place, and then Ben came back to me and went,
I remember.
And then Ben came back to me and went, that's it.
That's it.
And then we went and redrafted it again. And
amazing.
It's just one thing in one place. I was like, they're not going to, I was really frightened. I was like, I was going to, and Ben just came back straight away and went, no, do that. And then, we went back and done it. And then Ben has then done, he's kind of gone even further, and there's some other moments that weren't even in there where Ben's just done these amazing things as well. It's just,
I think that's what hooked Stephen, actually. Do you remember Ben and I had a 2-hour meeting with Stephen, didn't we, on a Sunday night?
Ben's racking his brain. He's like,
no, I remember it well.
Oh, you remember it? Okay.
Yeah, no, well, I did several with Stephen as well as that. I'll never forget on the pub set, on the Blind Beggar set, and Stephen turned to me, and we were doing one of these things where Stephen can appear in his own flashbacks, which you'll have to watch to understand what that means. Mm-hmm. And he just turned to me and said, "This is why I'm doing this movie." And I thought that was great, that to get an actor to fly over in the middle of COVID from LA, who's who's, you shout his name in a pub, people turn round. And he's of that level and that talent. He's great. To get him to fly over to England in the middle of a pandemic to do this little movie in Wales in 14 days, because of those kind of bold choices, I think that we put in, and that Luke wrote throughout it.
It says it all, doesn't it? How, again, another lesson for our filmmakers: be brave, be bold, be different. Right, because you just have to. It's so important.
Roll the dice.
You've got to roll that dice. You got to roll the dice and give more than 7%.
But I think it's across the board as well, though. So I think, like, sort of Lucinda did it. She rolled the dice, first of all, by even coming to me at any stage, I think it's fair to say, and going, do you want to give this a go? I think that was a roll. Lucinda had seen examples of my writing, but obviously not in this kind of form, if that makes sense. So I think Lucinda was brave and was like, do you know what? I've got a gut feeling and I'm going to take a chance on that. And then the same with Ben to then come on board with that, and I was thinking that sort of throughout it. And when we were writing, I was thinking, no, actually, I need to do that as well. There's no point in me writing the kind of simple things. I need to kind of make some bold choices and try something. And then Ben saw that and was like, yeah, brilliant, cool. And he's done the same thing in terms of, you saying, some of the transitions and some of the directing and like that is, kind of a big part of, I think, what we all need in order to kind of...
We were allowed as well, Luke, actually. If you remember our execs, Andy Lyon, Andy Taylor and Michael Walker, they do allow us and trust us as a team to make the best movie. They don't necessarily leave us alone completely, because they're part of the team, they're part of the process, but they do say, you guys know what you're doing. Just make us the best movie you can. And so they allowed us to make those bold choices. I'm not sure they will out again after they've just heard this. But
that trust is so important. And I suppose you knew, going in that these guys had already got an idea of how they were going to put the movie out there in the world. So it meant you guys aren't having to sell it. You guys aren't necessarily having to go to distributors. It's already kind of moving forward in that way, because they've already got that set up. That must feel nice. I know it does for me sometimes, when you've already got that platform set up. You're making this movie, it is coming out, you know, they've already given you a deadline. Ben, just touch on that real quick for you as that filmmaker, because you've had this before, but also not had this as well. So, you know, do you prefer to know that it's got a release date and you know that this film will be seen by people, or hey, we never know, we could get picked up by whoever?
Great question, Giles. It's fascinating. I think there are different kinds of fear, aren't they? One is like, am I going to deliver what is needed, and the professionalism, you know, what they've paid me to within our budget, what they have spent on making this film, and is that going to be what satisfies that? Whereas so there's fear there, and there's fear of not doing the good job, and the responsibility of that. And on a spec project, obviously, there's fear that no one's gonna buy it, and then it won't get seen. I suppose I don't know which is more. They're both driving, aren't they? In a way, you've done both, haven't you?
Yes.
I think it's more.
Well, we all have, actually.
Puts the fear of God in me to know that there's more pressure.
What, to know you have got? It's already sold. Really?
I mean, it's all exciting. And Ben Mole said it on the last podcast. Just say yes. Worry about it later. You say yes and you're excited, and then you go, oh no.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, and Luke, you must have felt that way. Yes, I'd love to write this. Oh shit, now I've got to actually write it. Yeah, and the same with you, Ben. Oh shit, now we've got to direct it. Of course, but you can do it. And that's the thing. You just got to trust in yourself, haven't you, sometimes, and go, someone's kind of given me an opportunity. I've got to take this with both hands and do it and ride with it.
And also remember that, you know, it might not be the 100% thing that you had in your head. Circumstances are going to get in the way, and be okay with that. Every time you write a script, you do a part, you direct something, you put it together, you get in the edit. Every time you do it is a learning thing, experience. Do it as much as you can, do it as often as you can. Whenever anyone gives you an opportunity to do it, take it and do it, because you'll learn so much from it. And it doesn't have to be Star Wars every time. Do you know what I mean? You can still grow through doing these projects. I think that's really important to develop careers.
Yeah, you've got to have a career. We're working filmmakers. You want to be making films or writing films or producing films. That's what we do. So if you're not doing that, you're just kind of saying, one day I'll do that. It is interesting, that whole balance in life. Luke, what have you learned from writing this that you're going to bring into your next film, that I imagine you've already written bits and pieces anyway, but be interesting to know your thoughts?
I think it's be bold and trust yourself. I think that's a big thing, because I think the things that I take back looking back now is like, oh, okay, yeah, those were the things that actually worked, and those are the things that you kind of look back with most pride, are those things where you did roll the dice, you know, and hopefully that's the same for So in the moments, I feel the moments that have garnered most success in the script are the moments in which the dice is rolled.
Amazing. Yeah, great. This has been brilliant to chat to you. I've loved the open frankness.
Yeah, just another thing that people, filmmakers in their careers, to be aware of it. If you're working in the independent world, is sometimes you don't always have the budget to spend as much in post as you'd like, and so VFX and an extra week in edit can count for everything. So on this one especially, this
has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been really cool.
Me too. Thank you.
Really good.
So it's Krays Code of Silence for the UK, and it's Code of Silence for the international release. We must say also, our composer Christopher Cook was amazing, but we also had a song in the movie from the Small Black Arrows.
People keep saying, "Oh, are you in it? Why aren't you in it?" Blah, blah, all this kind of stuff, and it's like, "Oh, don't you worry." I'm in there somewhere as Small Black Arrows. I've snuck in.
You have. That's your band. We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great.
That's cool. Look, we could chat all day. This has been amazing. Krays Code of Silence is out now. Go support. Go watch it. I think it's brilliant. A really cool indie film, chamber piece. If you like brilliant acting, great storytelling, clever cinematography and camera work, you're gonna love this movie. So if you like a big fan of the Krays, you'll like this movie, and if you're not, you will still like this movie, and therefore you should go support it 100%. Ben Mole, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Woo. Yeah, thank you. Been a pleasure.
Great. Luke Bailey, thank you very much.
Oh, no, the pleasure is all mine.
And Lucinda Rhodes, thank you.
Thank you, Giles Alderson, for being a part of it.
7%.
I was the 7%. Remember, you can go out there and make your movie. You can roll the dice and do it just as the boys have said. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to send the elevator back down. We will see you next Tuesday as always. Go support indie films and go try and make your film. Why not? Roll the dice. Make it happen. Cheers, Ben. Cheers, Luke. Cheers, Lucinda.
See you all.
Bye. See you all.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.